We're now being joined by Osenaga Michael-Orokpo, President and CEO of Shield Africa, where she is leading efforts to address food security and advocate for youth and women's empowerment through sustainable agriculture. She is the former Chief Sustainability Officer, Africa Improved Foods, BV, a Dutch agribusiness multinational. Thank you so much for being on the news tonight.
Thanks, Adesua, for having me.
So, I mean, you're trying to promote food sustainability, food security. But let's begin with the latest data we have from NBS, Nigeria's Bureau of Statistics. The data company or data organization of the government shows that food and beverage imports jumped by more than 44% in the first half of 2025 alone. What does that say to you? Are we losing the fight or the battle for self-sufficiency? How does that come to you that we have imported more than 44% this year alone, half year alone?
Thanks, Adesua. I think the missing link is while that, let's first refer to the 150 to 180 day window for let's say import substitution, which was introduced by the federal government. Let's start from there. Okay. So while that was introduced, it was initially meant to curb prices of foods, but there was something we were supposed to be doing as a country. We were supposed to be boosting local production so that eventually that period, that 150 to 180 day window, gives an opportunity for that balance to happen, which will keep prices low and make it affordable for Nigerians. But there were certain systematic challenges that plague local production that happened. So let's say, for example, insecurity on our farms, where over 2 million farmers have been displaced. Let's also talk about currency devaluation and refer to, let's say, the increment in prices of fertilizer. A few years ago, fertilizer was 8,000 naira per bag, but this year farmers have bought fertilizers, NPK, as much as 50,000 naira per bag. So if you look at all of these systemic issues, what I will call persistent structural challenges that undermine local production despite the policies like duty-free import, you would see that it's been really difficult to have that balance. We also look at inconsistent policies that have failed to boost output. So let's say, for example, the CBN's fund to support agriculture. There have been other challenges that are outside the borders of this fund. Let's say, for example, climate action. Let's talk about energy costs. All of these costs continue to increase, and then it makes it really difficult to keep the prices down.
Interesting, but you know, we keep hearing from the government about support for farmers, including fertilizers. We're told that fertilizers are being distributed to farmers. Farmers are being empowered and enhanced to return to the farm with security. But this still happens, and you highlight those challenges. So I wonder what's the missing link? Who's not telling us the truth here? Because when the government says we're distributing fertilizers to the farmers, is that even really happening? I mean, you deal with farmers and agripreneurs, as I understand it. Yes. What's their story?
Let's also talk about database. Yes. Because if the government of Nigeria is going to distribute inputs or funds to farmers, we have to look at what's the percentage, what's the outreach, what's the spread. I think that Nigeria will have to do better when it comes to creating the right database of our farmers. I, from my assessment, have seen that not more than 20% of the 38 million farmers have been captured, in the database as real farmers. Do we really have database that shows where these farmers are, exactly what they farm, what they need, what's the size of their farm? So these are the information that are required to, enable Nigeria government. Let's talk about government in this case. Yes. That would enable them distribute the inputs to them. Until that really happens, until a perfect database is created, you would only have a small fraction of Nigeria's farmers benefiting. There are some farmers benefiting, no doubt, but it's not all the farmers. The spread is just the spread is limited, and it's owing to lack of structured database that makes it very difficult for the government to know where all the farmers really are.
Interesting, and you make a valid point, because we do have a situation where tractors, for instance, have been bought by the federal government in partnership with some countries and some companies, but we are told they are not yet distributed because they're trying to gather data. But one wonders how difficult really can it be with the various associations of farmers that we have to capture the farmers. Osenaga, let me also ask you, because you deal with youth and women as well. Oftentimes we hear the government tell young people to go into farming, but we would like to know, what are the real opportunities in agriculture today for youth and women, beyond the rhetoric of it can employ youths and it can create wealth? What are the real opportunities for young people and women in agriculture?
First of all, we know that the population of farmers that have always farmed in our Nigerian farms are aging. A lot of them are now 65 years and above. And indeed, the time has come for young people to take over the reins of leadership on the farm. But then again, the issue is that what our mothers and our fathers were used to, many of us cannot even do half
the farming
of that.
tools.
We will fend on the farms. So if you ask me, what are the real opportunities?
Yes, where's the value chain? Where's the value in the chain? Yes.
Yeah, so they are enormous. They're very enormous. I'll start with actual farming itself, the act of cultivating the crops. Because of course, if we do not cultivate, there's no way you can get value along the chain. So let's start from that. There is value there. Young people will have to first occupy that place. You'd have to buy the input, you have to get the input, you have to get the knowledge. I would also say that is where private sector comes in, and of course government and then not-for-profit, in terms of building the capacity of these youths. Because what you would realize again is that as our population surges, there's demand for more food. And then it means that the young people who take over the reins of leadership in the agricultural sector need to understand what it really takes to boost food production to be able to meet up to the population that we have in the country. So we need to start looking at innovations around, while we have those people occupying the farms, we need to look at innovations around creating drought-resistant seeds, high-yielding seeds, start making our local fertilizers, boosting production locally, which will also bring down the prices of fertilizers. So there's also value there in innovation, in research, and in the actual farming.
All right.
Yes.
Osenaga, I'm told we have to go, but in 60 seconds, if you can, I do apologize for the brevity of time. You have a summit coming up in about 2 weeks.
Yes.
Tell us very quickly what it is and what you hope to achieve.
We are looking at the future of agribusiness in Africa, and we're specifically looking at how knowledge and knowledge can help youth and women to become the leaders of the next generation of agriculture. I have already stated it, that there are lots of opportunities. What we're also doing there is that we are supporting a lot of young people with agricultural financing to boost their production, and here we will be giving several agribusinesses funding seed support of $1,500.
Oh, wow.
Yes, each of them, just to
For
boost,
how many people?
As many as we can.
Interesting.
Yes, we will be doing that. Should Africa, it is self-funded, and it is our way of contributing to seeing that young people aged 18 to 40, we will include 40, because there are dynamics around the African youth due to the challenges that they face. So
ask political actors and they'll tell you the definition of young in Africa.
Yes. So we're doing that
18 to 40.
To 40, yes.
Okay. All right. Best of luck. We look forward to the summit
and
its outcome. Perhaps we'll bring you back for more conversation
Thank you
after the summit. Osenaga Michael-Orokpo for being on Newsnight.